What I found in my own living room explained why my husband stopped seeing me and why someone else never stopped. I didn't realize Daniel had stopped seeing me until I noticed how alive he still looked for everyone else. From the outside, our life looked fine. He still came home, still ate what I cooked, still asked if the bills were paid, still kissed my cheek in that quick, automatic way that barely counted as touch. But when I spoke, his eyes didn't stay on me. They drifted to his phone, the clock, the counter, anywhere but my face. At first, I told myself it was stress, work, the season, the years. People always said marriage wasn't supposed to feel exciting forever, and I clung to that like it explained everything. But then I tried. One Tuesday, I put on the blue dress he used to notice. I curled my hair. I wore perfume I hadn't touched in months. Dinner was ready at 6:30, still steaming, the kind of meal that used to make him smile before he even sat down. He sat, took a bite, said, "This is good." Then his phone lit up and he smiled at the screen like it had whispered something sweet. "Something funny?" I asked. "Just work," he said, not looking up. I stood at the sink afterward, watching my reflection in the dark window, and I felt small, like I'd been fading one quiet day at a time. That was when the thought came, sharp and unwelcome. What if someone else was getting the version of him I lost? A few days later, he mentioned yoga. Daniel, who used to make jokes about yoga, said he was going twice a week now. "Good for stress," he told me, already reaching for his keys. And when he came home from those classes, he went straight to the shower. Every time. Long showers. Closed door. That night, my sister Margaret called. "How are you really?" she asked. I started to say fine, like I always did, and she cut in gently. "Men don't go quiet when they're at peace." I laughed like it didn't hit me. But it did, because sitting across from Daniel, watching him scroll and smile at his phone while barely hearing my voice, I realized I wasn't competing with another person yet. I was competing with whatever made him feel more seen than I did, and I didn't know how much longer I could pretend it didn't matter. The next night, I noticed something that made my chest tighten, something too consistent to ignore. I didn't start looking for proof. I started noticing patterns that refused to stay quiet. Daniel's phone became a third person in our marriage. It was always charged, always close, always face down on the counter like it had a secret even when it wasn't buzzing. If he went to the bathroom, it went with him. If he stepped outside for air, it was already in his hand. One morning, he forgot it on the table. It sat there between us like a dare. I didn't touch it. I want that clear. I didn't scroll. I didn't open anything. I just stared at it and hated that my heart was beating faster over an object. When he came back down the stairs, he grabbed it so quickly he didn't even pretend it was casual. Later, I brought it up softly. Not accusations. Just a gentle try. "Are you okay?" I asked. "You've been far away." He didn't even look at me. "You're reading into it." "I'm not trying to fight," I said. He sighed like I'd exhausted him. "I'm just tired, Claire." The way he said my name made me feel ridiculous, like needing connection was a weakness. Then our anniversary came. I didn't expect a big thing. Just something small. A card. A "Hey, 12 years." A look across the kitchen that said, "I remember." He didn't mention it once. At 8 that night, he walked in holding a cafe cup. He set it down on the counter without thinking, like he'd carried it home out of habit. There was a name on it. Not mine. I stared too long and he noticed. His body shifted slightly, blocking my view as if it was automatic. "It's nothing," he said, and tossed it into the trash like it never existed. That should have been my breaking point. Instead, I asked him quietly, "Did you forget what today is?" He paused, just a beat too long. "Oh, that was today." I waited for the apology. He gave me a tired look. "Can we not do this? Can we not do this?" Like my hurt was the issue. Over the next week, I stopped trying so hard. Not as a game, just because reaching for someone who keeps stepping away wears you down. And that's when the details got louder. He smiled at texts and wiped the smile off when I entered the room. He stepped outside for calls, even when the house was quiet. And twice, I heard him start a sentence with "she said," then stop himself like he'd caught his own tongue. Margaret called again, and I finally admitted it. "I feel crazy," I whispered. "You're not crazy," she said. "You're paying attention." Then one night, Close to midnight, I woke up and realized Daniel wasn't in bed. I heard his voice downstairs. Low. Careful. I stood halfway down the stairs in the dark, holding my breath like sound might give me away. I can't talk long, he murmured. A pause. Then he said, softly, like he meant it. She understands me. I couldn't hear the name, but I heard the tenderness. And my stomach dropped because I knew, whatever this was, it wasn't harmless. The next evening, I followed a feeling I didn't want to have, and it led me somewhere I couldn't forget. I didn't catch him touching another woman. I heard him loving one with his voice. The next day, Daniel said he had to run out for a bit. No details, no explanation. Just keys, shoes, and that lighter energy he never brought home to me anymore. I waited 10 minutes, then grabbed my purse. My hands were shaking, not from anger, but from the humiliation of being the kind of wife who did this. I told myself I just wanted to confirm he was where he said he'd be. The truth was, he hadn't said where he was going. I ended up near the yoga studio. The sign was still lit. The parking lot wasn't full, but Daniel's car was there. I parked across the street and sat with my hands tight on the wheel, telling myself I could still leave without seeing anything. Then the door opened. Daniel walked out, and a woman walked with him. She wore leggings and a loose sweater, hair tied up like she hadn't dressed to impress anyone. She leaned in while she spoke, comfortable. Familiar. Daniel laughed. A real laugh. They stopped near her car. She touched his arm, briefly, casually, and Daniel didn't pull away. He stood there like he had nowhere else he'd rather be. I drove home before he did, feeling sick, feeling foolish, feeling like I'd stepped outside my own life and watched it happen to someone else. When he walked in, he looked surprised I was awake. Couldn't sleep, he asked. Where were you? I kept my voice steady. Yoga, he said too smoothly. I nodded. Late class. Yeah. They added sessions, he replied, already moving toward the kitchen. Then he said it like it was nothing. Lena said the late ones are the best. Lena. My throat tightened. Who's Lena? A woman from class, he said. Instructor sometimes. She's nice. Do you talk to her a lot? I asked. His face shifted, annoyance first. Why are you doing this? I heard you on the phone last night, I said. He didn't deny it. He just defended it. It's not cheating, he said. We talk. She listens. I felt my chest cave inward. And I don't. You're always stressed, he snapped. You've been checked out. Me. He made it sound like I'd abandoned him first. I stared at him and realized we were arguing about definitions, not facts. So you didn't touch her? I asked. No, he said sharp. And you think that means you didn't betray me? He looked me straight in the eye. I didn't touch her, so I didn't betray you. In that moment, I understood he was talking about bodies. I was talking about being replaced. The next day, I messaged Lena, because if he could lie with calm, I needed to hear the truth from her mouth. When I finally asked her the truth, I learned something that made the betrayal even worse. I found Lena through the studio schedule and sent a short message. Polite. Controlled. 2 sentences that didn't show how my hands trembled while I typed them. She responded quickly. Yes. Of course. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. That line made my stomach tighten, but I didn't know why yet. We met at a small coffee shop near the studio. It smelled like espresso and cinnamon, and the tables were close enough that I kept my voice low without thinking. Lena stood when I approached. She looked nervous, not smug, smaller than she did online. Her hands kept worrying the cardboard sleeve on her cup. Claire, she said softly. I'm not here to cause a scene, I told her. I just need the truth. She nodded. Okay. How long? I asked. She blinked. How long what? You and Daniel. Her face changed, confusion first, then alarm. We've been friends since he started coming. That's 2 months. Friends. Again. He calls you late, I said. He tells you things he won't say to me. Lena's mouth opened, then closed. Wait, he didn't tell you. Tell me what? I asked, my voice tightening. She looked genuinely scared now. He told me you knew. He said you were okay with it. My stomach dropped. Okay with what? Not physical, she rushed. Just talking. He said you weren't the jealous type. He said you were secure. He said you didn't need reassurance. I sat there, stunned. He'd used my silence as permission. He'd painted me as the kind of wife who didn't care, so he could feel clean while he leaned into someone else. Did you touch him? I asked. No, she said quickly. There were hugs sometimes after class, but I swear, Claire, I didn't go after him. He stayed after. He talked. He seemed lonely. And he talked about you like you were strong. Like you didn't need anything. That sentence cracked something in me. I had spent years trying to be easy to love, low maintenance, patient, understanding, and he turned that into a reason to give me less. When I got home, Daniel took one look at my face and knew. You talked to her, he said, irritated, like I'd violated something. She told me you said I knew, I replied. She told me you said I was okay with it. I didn't say that, he snapped too fast. She said you told her I didn't need reassurance. He looked away for half a second. That was all. I just didn't think you cared, he muttered. I stared at him. You didn't think I cared about my husband giving his attention to another woman? You don't ask for anything, he said, frustrated. You're strong. You don't need it all the time. There it was. He didn't forget me by accident. He got used to me accepting it. That's when I knew I couldn't go back to pretending this was just stress. I wasn't angry. I was done. That night, I stood in my closet staring at a suitcase, realizing the next step wasn't about catching him. It was about choosing myself. I didn't leave because he chose her. I left because he stopped choosing me long before. I didn't pack in a rush. I slept in the guest room with the door closed, listening to the house settle the way it always did. Only now it felt like I could finally hear the truth inside the quiet. The next afternoon, I opened my closet and stared at my clothes like they belonged to someone else. I chose what I needed, simple things, nothing dramatic, and set the suitcase by the door. When Daniel came home and saw it, his face filled with disbelief. You're leaving? He asked. Yes, I said. For how long? He asked, like he could schedule my pain. I don't know, I replied. He paced once, then stopped. This is extreme. So is being erased, I said, voice low. He went back to the same defense, like it was a shield. I didn't sleep with her. I know, I said. And I still lost you. He stared at me like he finally understood the math didn't work in his favor. He wasn't furious. He was stunned that there were consequences he couldn't explain away. I took a breath. Neglect is still a choice. He opened his mouth to argue, then stopped. I picked up my bag and held the door for a second longer than I needed to, just to feel the weight of the moment. No shouting. No slammed doors. Just me, stepping out of a life where I had to beg to be noticed. That first night alone, the silence felt unfamiliar, but it didn't feel unsafe. It felt clean, like I could finally hear my own thoughts without working around someone else's indifference. Later, Daniel texted apologies, explanations, promises. I read them. I didn't rush to answer. Because I finally saw myself, and I refused to disappear again. I thought emotional betrayal was rare, until the messages started coming in, and I realized how common invisibility really is. If this story hit close to home, subscribe for more real stories about love, distance, and the quiet moments that change everything.